We continue to celebrate Mike Weir's historic 2003 victory at the Masters. We all know, every golf fan in this country of Canada knows where they were when that final putt went in. My guest right now had the best seat in the house. He's currently on the bag for 2019 U.S. Open champion Gary Woodland. Please welcome Brennan Little. Brennan, how are you? I'm
great, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for taking a few minutes to kind of stroll down memory lane. 20 years, man. The time just flies, doesn't it? Seems like yesterday.
Yeah, it sure does. I mean, I don't know about seems like yesterday, but it was quite a week, to be honest with you, and quite a game changer for Mike, myself, and all of Canadian golf, to be honest.
Yeah, it was really kind of the coming out party. For Canadian golf, absolutely. The first Canadian man to win a major, the first lefty to win the green jacket. A lot of firsts that day, and you had, like I say, you had a ringside seat for it, and we're gonna get some of your memories of that day. Now going in, Mike was already having a pretty good season. He'd already won twice, so confidence level was high for you guys going in.
Yeah, he had really played well that year. Yeah, he was kind of on the uptick going into the year, and that he'd won a couple times earlier, and he'd played well in some majors, so his game was in good form. Obviously, you don't know, given that week or any week, for instance, how you're going to play. I mean, a lot of it comes down to short game and getting some bounces in order to win. But yeah, his game was in really good form coming in.
Yeah, so Friday's a washout. Everything gets played a lot of holes on. Sorry, Thursday was the washout. Played a lot of holes on the Friday. A bit of an up and down couple of days for Mike. He's in the lead, and then he starts the final round, 2 shots back of Jeff Maggard. What was said that morning?
Mike and I never really discussed too much about what was said. I think we both knew that even if you're 2 up or 2 back, you're kind of doing the same thing, right? You have to play your own game. Unlike other sports, prevent defense, or in hockey, you send 4 guys back and 1 guy deep. You can't really do it in golf. You never know when someone's going to go out and shoot 64, especially Augusta on the back 9. There's just so many good opportunities. So you have to kind of get your way into the back 9. And then obviously if you need to try to go for the par 5s, or you need to play a little more conservatively, you do it. But, it's just one of those things. You just have to stay in the moment, play your game, and obviously he did that. And Maggard made double or triple on 3, which backed up, and you just got to get into that back 9.
How do you avoid when Jeff Maggard is having his troubles out there? How do you avoid that influencing what you guys do?
Well, he was just one guy, and obviously we knew there was going to be more. If you look, there's leaderboards all over there. And at the same time, I mean, Augusta's just a tricky golf course, and you have to just keep playing. I mean, it's not like you can really do much different. If you have to be aggressive on the last 4, 5, 6 holes, you can do it. But especially when it happened to Maggard on the 3rd hole, I mean, you got to just keep plugging away, trying to make your pars, get your birdies when you can, and get it up and down if you have to. So it has an influence, but not really. At the end of the day, I mean, you got to play your own game. Golf's just that's the way golf is.
So Mike is out there. He's just draining clutch putt after clutch putt. Every 6-footer's going in. Every 8-footer's going in, either to save par or to make birdie. All the while Mike is doing that, Len Matisse is playing out of his mind with the round of his life. How much did you guys know about that when you guys were out there?
Speaking for myself, I'm not sure. He was probably an hour and a half ahead of us.
Yeah.
It was around 12 or 13 when I think he finished. I'm not exactly sure when he posted, but he was well ahead. So that kind of gave you a pretty good indication of what you needed, because that score was posted. So from there, that's when things can change a little bit, because we know, I think he had to make 2 birdies, Mike. He was 2 behind when Len got done. So that's when things can change a little bit, and you realize you got to make some birdies and be a little more aggressive.
As a caddy, do you like knowing exactly where you are on the leaderboard, or would you rather just keep your head down and just continue to play your own game?
No, I always like to know.
Yeah.
I think if it all depends on the player you're working for. Personally, I like to know. And then a lot of times Mike and I, we might discuss it with 2-3 holes left, or obviously theirs a little different because the boards are so big and they're right in front of you. A lot of guys say they don't look at the boards, but it's pretty hard at Augusta to not see them, unless if you're human, it's just your eyes will take you there. I'm sure, but yeah, no, I always like to know, and I think that it has an effect on how your play and in your game is coming in.
Yeah. So Mike makes that another of his many clutch putts on 18 to force the playoff. It was such a quick turnaround from 18 to 10. Was that an advantage for you guys? Because basically you just kept on playing, whereas Matisse had to sit and wait for a long time.
I think it was a huge advantage. One, he made an unbelievable putt on 18. So you've got the adrenaline going there. Two, Len's got to sit around and think about going to a playoff, maybe winning the Masters. I'm sure that rolled through his mind a million times. Mike misses that putt, he wins the tournament. Mike makes bogey on the last, he wins the tournament. So, then he's got to go hit some balls and warm up. So mentally, his mind's got to just be spinning. Whereas Mike gets done, goes right to 10T. He's already still in game mode, having to do what he did on the back nine. So I think it was a big advantage.
I was talking to Len Matisse a few days ago, and I asked him what was said kind of on the tee of that playoff hole. He said, we didn't really have time to say anything other than play well. What did you and Mike talk about heading into the playoff?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, we like to say we got done, signed the scorecard, and went over there. When it comes to a playoff, I mean, what can you say? I mean, we both know what's there.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to get it in play first off the tee, and then obviously it changes a little bit depending on the shot which Len did hit. Then you're going to play a little more middle of the green. Giving yourself a good opportunity, trying to make 4. So, but there's nothing really to say. I mean, you don't sit there and say, hey, let's try to win this tournament and win the Masters. I mean,
yeah, it's kind of obvious. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what's there. It's like going to overtime in hockey.
Exactly.
It's the same thing. I mean, it's a lot easier, I will say, when you're in the moment. When I watch other sports, friends in golf, hockey, baseball, the Blue Jays, I get nervous. And yeah, I mean, when you're in the moment, it's like it's just happening, and I don't get nearly as nervous. Not that I don't get nervous, but you're going with the flow, and you're in the game mode, compared to sitting back on the couch and watching, and that drives me bananas.
So Mike makes that putt to win. Take me back to your emotions at that time. Can you even remember what you were thinking?
Yeah, you can remember. I think at the same time, it takes a while to sink in, right? You have such a high just thinking about it. And, and it's not only for myself and for Mike, but for the country, being a Canadian and winning. And I grew up in Toronto and was around George a lot, Ben Kern. And, obviously they didn't win, but they were big influences, and they really helped a lot of the junior golf in Canada. And, it's just a great feeling. I mean, I've had lucky enough to do it again in 19 with Gary, but yeah, it's just, it's an awesome feeling. And, for Mike, it was great because he's always been kind of an underdog, and you would think that's probably one of the last tournaments as far as length and ball striking. But, I guess at the end of the day, it comes down to short game and making putts. And he obviously had one of the best short games in the world at the time. Yeah. So it made sense. But yeah, it was unbelievable. And it's one of those things, it takes a while to set in.
Now, there's a great story. Tell me if this is true or not. While Mike is in Butler Cabin celebrating, you kind of ditched that scene and did something else. What did you do?
Well, I did. What happened is that I was talking to his agent at the time. And obviously when they got done, it was kind of a whirlwind. Mike got taken away. And, I didn't realize at the time that you went into the Butler to have dinner with the members. And I had talked to Kevin at the time, and I said, he's doing media, and Mike had a house. I had a house with a couple other caddies. And in the old days, we used to park right down number 2, not where we park now. And so I'd gone back to the caddy room, and we sat around, and I said to the guys, they're like, you better get your car. I didn't know what I was doing if I was going to Toronto. I had a flight first thing in the morning out of Atlanta. So they said, go get your car. So a buddy of mine, Mark Cheney, who caddied for couples, I don't know if he was caddying for couples then, but he caddies for couples now. we ended up grabbing Mike's clubs, and he, you know, and said, we'll meet you back at the house, and kind of dropped it halfway up, and I played it left-handed. So,
how'd you do? Birdie, bogey?
4, actually, from halfway up the hole, bottom of the hill. Which
Nice.
was pretty good.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. Well, that's a great story. So while he's in there, you know, getting you know, the big celebration, you're out using his clubs. That's awesome.
Well, you know, it would have been great if I could have, if I didn't really know what the deal was. I'm sure we would have stayed around, but not known. Obviously, now realizing that the winners stay and have dinner, I would have stayed around. But, and I'm sure they could have got my car out. But
it's a better story, though.
Yeah, it is a much better story. I agree. We ended up going back to the house, and we had to wait for 2-3 hours until all the guys came back.
Yeah, and then the party really started, right?
Yeah, it started and lasted for a few days.
Yeah, I'll bet.
We ended up going to Toronto and then back, and it was good time.
Just a whirlwind, man. So Mike gets the green jacket for winning the Masters. I've always been curious, what does the caddy get for winning the Masters?
Obviously, when you win a tournament, you take the flag.
Yeah.
The flag itself, not the stick, I don't know what you call it, but so I took that, and then the guys in the caddy room gave me the number, the Weir name, and the little Augusta logo, and I always got Mike to sign the flags when he won, and that one's obviously a little bit bigger. I put them all in a little frame. Mike signed it, and you know, it's pretty cool.
That's amazing. That's you were a part of one of the most important pieces of Canadian sports history. You had the best, like I said, you had the best seat in the house. And Brennan, thank you so much for spending a few minutes and reliving that day back in April of 2003.
Yeah, anytime. And you know, I'll just say I think that was really a turning point for golf in Canada.
Yeah.
If you look now, there's probably 7-8 players that legitimately are good tour players' chances to win. And, you know, I think that was a big part of it when Mike, because obviously when you grow up, you don't really have a lot of people that you can look up to and say, this guy's a tour winner, this guy's won majors. And I think that was a real turning point for all the young kids.
Absolutely, because up here we talk about the Vince Carter effect for basketball. Well, obviously this is the Mike Weir effect for golf, and you were a part of that. Yeah,
well, I appreciate that. Thanks. And I will say that Canada Golf is in really good shape. I mean, we played with Svensson the other day. I was really impressed. Hadwin, Connors, Taylor. I mean, it goes on and on. Pendrith.
Yeah.
I mean, they're stacked right now.
Yeah, they just keep coming. And
it's great.
And that day was kind of the linchpin for all of that, for sure.
Yeah.
Brennan, thanks again, man. I appreciate everything. Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. Anytime. Thanks.
Take care.